In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Jeff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Jeff Jones and Friends Make It Better, the show that takes one of life's little annoyances, gives it a microphone, a podcast, and a fabulous guest to quite simply make it better. Today, I'm delighted to welcome award-winning TV script and feature writer Hugh Murchison. Hugh, how are you?
Good. And you, Jeff?
Yes, I'm not too bad. Thank you very much. Got your name right, so that's a good, very good start.
Yes.
Right, without further ado, what is it that we are making better today?
We are going to make ageism better. In fact, we're going to do better than make it better. We're going to solve the problem of ageism. After we talk today and the message gets out, there will no longer be any ageism to worry about by anybody.
I am very excited about this because I am growing into age, but I have to start thinking about this, if I'm honest. How people look at me. I mean, I'm 41 years old, and I already my opinion is devalued by certainly my children, but anyone born 9 years younger than me, apparently I'm already out of date. But what was it?
There was a time that you could like go into like a bar or someplace, and they would ask you for ID to see if you were old enough. And now you get to the point where they don't even pause or hesitate, and that's a little bit concerning, especially if you're with somebody who is carded, and then you just kind of like making a joke, say, "Well, you didn't ask me for mine." And they'll turn and say, yeah, well, can I see your ID?
Yeah.
Like they need to.
Yeah, oh God, we got another one. Okay, yeah, show us your ID then if it makes you feel better. But off
exactly. Right. They patronize you.
That's it. But as soon as you say it as well, as soon as you're like, oh, you're not going to see mine, and they say, well, okay, you're like, oh, okay, well now I've got to get it out of my pocket. I've got to
Exactly.
Oh God, it's such an embarrassing photo though. So just let me walk in. Let's forget I mentioned it.
But yeah, so we're not talking about the ageism where you invite somebody to be ageist. It's where it's unbidden. They are the ones who come up with trying to discriminate against you for what they think is your age.
Sure. What is it? Give me some examples of the biggest times you may experience or see it or kind of feel it most inappropriate or is most used.
Well, it hasn't been. It's more anticipatory in my case. As a writer, I'm more worried about how people will judge my work because it's coming from someone who's older than the typical supplier of a script. So that's my concern. And I've asked questions. I was in film school, and that was one of my big sort of issues was like, is this a fight that I'm going to have to fight? Because there's not only just trying to write a good script and finding the people to do it, but in the fight that everybody else has that I may have to contend with, and it's not given necessarily, is that, well, they'll judge you on how old you are as a writer.
Yeah, and that kind of perception that because of an age bracket you cannot be in touch with certain aspects of life or the world as it is, or your view of so royal you, because as far as kind of an older generation are concerned, but that the view of an older person is different to the view of a younger person purely because of the time they grew up in. When
Yeah, but
actually,
in addition to that, though, yeah, and I understand that it's the same sort of business that if you're a white person, you can't write a black story, or if you're a black story, you can't a black person, you can't write or if you're a woman, you can't write a man story, and vice versa for those various things. And there is that, I suppose. But if you're in television, for example, and that's like a group effort, you're spending a lot of time with these fellow writers.
yeah,
And they're probably more comfortable spending time with someone who's more like share the same kind of age, or they're around the same age, rather than have a bunch of 20-year-olds and then dad in the room.
the thing is, I would say, I'd maybe counter it slightly that an age difference is different. So a man writing a woman's part, or vice versa, a white person writing a black person's point of view, or vice versa, is slightly different to an old person writing a young person, or vice versa, because an older person has still been young. Okay, it may have been time difference. So you've got to they have to deal with the sensitivity of knowing social media. But just because someone is older doesn't mean they don't know technology and social media.
Yes.
And this is that stereotype or thought process of a younger person, is that, oh, you're old, you have no idea what, I don't know, what technology is, what this is, what X, Y, and Z. Yeah, we connected over Twitter. So that means that at least us at our various ages understand Twitter, at least to open the account and be on there, right? Just because we're not, I know, dancing for TikTok doesn't necessarily mean that we don't understand technology and social media. So
yes. And what you just said sort of is in line with my idea about ageism, unlike other kind of prejudices. Because if you're a woman and I'm a guy that's practicing sexism, I'm that kind of person that I'm not going to be. Today I probably could, but I'm not going to become a woman. Or if I'm a black person, I'm not going to become a white person. Or if I'm not a Jew, I'm not going to become a Jew necessarily. So I can understand how, as whatever identity I have, I can discriminate, and it almost makes sense. If I'm not sure if you follow me. However,
I know exactly where
I'm
you're
a
going.
young person, and I'm eventually going to become that.
Yeah.
You know, so it'd be like if I were a white person, and I knew at some point I was going to become a black person, I would not be practicing racism.
Yeah.
So if I'm a young person, why would I make a case for practice it myself, ageism, knowing that tomorrow I'm going to be old? I would do just the reverse thing and become and say, you know what, that's great, and make that situation or that day or that future identity that much more welcoming. Make everybody want to be old.
That's an absolutely amazing take on it. That is the analogy within that and you're right. Life permitting, everyone starts young, gets old.
Right. If you're lucky. Now, if you're planning to off yourself, before you get old, then that would be the only, I think, situation or condition that you say you're justified, and I understand your ageism practice.
Yeah.
If your plan is to live it to your 80s or 90s, which society is going to call you old after a certain period, why would you subscribe to, practice, uphold ageism?
And do you know what it is? It's this young mentality of immortality. Like, and don't get, I'm not going to start kind of bash it, just as there's ages. I'm not going to start bashing on young people, but I know from myself. So I was a young dad. I mean, I'm 41 years old. I've been a dad longer than I've been an adult, right? And and but that comes with you start feeling older, younger maybe as well. But So I've got this almost not a unique view, but this view on life where I'm 41 and I feel like I should be almost in my prime, but I also feel really old. So well, I look at young people and I kind of I don't know, I don't fully understand what they're going through because there's pluses and negatives right now of being a young person in 2023 that
Yes.
that they've got a voice, whereas generations previously never had a voice due to social media, and they can find like-minded people easier because of social media, because of the
Yes.
internet.
I understand. Yes.
I also appreciate there's a lot of hardships because of economy and all these things. So every generation has their battles, and whereas the young today may be better off in some ways, they could be worse off in others. I don't know. That's a conversation for a different day. But no matter what generation you are, you should always look to those older because there's something to learn from. And
Yes.
that could be that you live in an area of a country where everyone over the age of 70 is a massive bigot. And you look at that person and say, well, that's not what I want to be in 2023. You've learned
Yes.
something, right?
Yes.
Or you could live, let's face it, look at Silicon Valley. At some point, all these young tech hipsters that are in Silicon Valley are going to be old tech hipsters in Silicon Valley. So they're going to know stuff from now that in 40 years or 50 years, they're still going to be those people.
Yes.
But the newer people are going to look at them as the old hat. But right now, they're groundbreaking. Like what you said is it's so on point that if you were to change, knowing that you're going to grow up and change into any other stereotype, demographic, whatever, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying now.
Exactly. It makes no sense. And in along that same line, you can almost understand racism. That makes sense to me. I'm a white person. I don't ever plan to be a black person. So I'm gonna hate on the black people. I know I'm a woman. I don't see myself becoming a woman or undergoing some sort of sexual reassignment. So I'm going to hate on women because I'm always going to be a guy.
Yeah.
But I don't have a choice if I want to. I mean, I do have a choice. I can say I'm not going to be old and I just kill myself. But if that's not in my plan, then
You're going to get old.
I'm going to get old and I'm going to support, applaud, and recommend old people because I want that for myself when I get there.
Yeah. Because positive or negative, age breeds experience. And there's young people that have got experience. There's young people now living lives that I would only have dreamt of when I was their age. We're getting more billionaires under 40 or whatever it is, like younger people are experienced that like travel is so open to everyone now. And I suppose we look back, I mean, don't get me wrong, I look at something like 1990 like it was about 15-20 years ago. when actually it was a lot longer than that.
No, that's a conversation that I've had with people that when you think about when you were before 1990s, before the 1990s, and you thought, oh, that's like so many, it seems like such a long way to get to that point. And now you're well past it. It just comes so quickly.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it.
Right. I let my son's gonna live to see 2090. If all things going well, then he's 9 now, and that blows my mind. So I was born in 82, and it still doesn't feel like that long ago, like the 90s, early 2000s. I still reminisce and think, it's great. And I kind of look. I did the maths the other day that I think my parents were 29 when they had me, and but they were always so old.
Yes.
They were so old when I was growing up. Yeah, they're in
I
their
know.
40s. And
I,
oh God, they couldn't have been older.
what was the thing? There was something about from high school. Yeah, it was in high school, and then I thought, oh, this teacher's got to be dead. This teacher's got to be dead. So I started like Googling these people, and then found out they were only like 10 years older than me. And I thought, surely they're because they seem like ancient.
Oh man.
I swear to you.
Yeah. But
So
teachers do they do get old quick. Like you've either got a young teacher or a really old teacher, but that really old teacher could be about 45.
yeah, I know. I start feeling like I remember my teachers when I was my daughter's age, and then I'm introduced to her teachers, some of them. And I said, "Oh my God, she's hot." And I don't remember saying that about any of my teachers when I was growing up.
No, do
I
you
said,
know what?
"Oh,
My first ever crush, I must have been about 11 years old. Miss Eggleton, right? No, sorry, Miss Lennox, right? And I was heartbroken. So I was 11 years old, and we broken up for the summer. And Miss Lennox, we said goodbye. 6 weeks later, come back into school, and Miss Lennox was now Mrs. Eggleton. She got married. I was crushed. I was crushed. I was 11, and it was my first taste of heartbreak because
oh."
who
I
now?
never had that because there was never a teacher.
The thing is, in my mind now, Mrs. Lennox. I mean, I hope she gets divorced because she totally, crept all over my emotions. But if she, I mean, she in my mind, she's about 90 years old now. But actually, she was probably only about 25, 30.
Exactly. Younger than you are now. But the
Yes.
way she lives in your head.
Yeah.
Now she's ancient. And I swear to you, it was like there were no fewer than three teachers that I was thinking about, and I was looking them up to see if they were still alive and how I might go back and like say hello or
Yeah.
catch up with them. And then they were dawned on me, God, they got to be dead now. And then I saw them, and they're only like 10 or 15 years older than me. So when I was maybe, what, 12, they were only in their mid-20s.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's only now I realize. So I look at my kids' teachers, I'm like, oh, you're young. Like these are people who had their, pardon my language, they had their shit together and they left school. They went and did an education, they got into teaching, and they're theirs as early as they can.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah, these are the people that I probably made fun of at school because I was rubbish at everything. So why would I? Yeah,
So,
that's the next one. Teachism. That's what we're going to do.
yeah, exactly.
Bias against teachers.
So the other thing that made me think about this, and there's an American writer, he wrote in or created both um, WKRP in Cincinnati. Do you know that show? Lonnie Anderson, Howard Hessman. It's an American show centered around a
May
radio
not have made it over
station
here, I'm afraid.
in Cincinnati. I believe it was Cincinnati, Ohio. And this guy, Hugh Wilson, um, created this show, and then years pass, and he's an older person, and he wants to work for some television show, like join a writer's room. And he's not, they say you're too old.
Mm.
And he just sort of, he just very matter of fact about the fact that they wouldn't let him into, and he understood it. And the reason he understood it, because when he was running the show, WKRP in Cincinnati, when he was in his prime, They were the writers for the I Love Lucy show. Do you know that show?
Yes.
So there was like Bob Carroll, Madeline Pugh. There were three people, but there might have been some other people. Nonetheless, these people were part of that show, and they made I Love Lucy what I Love Lucy, what we know it. Well, they, of course, left the show, and this was many years later, and they'd go to WKRP or people like Hugh Wilson, and they say, you know, we've created this show, we'd like to join, but they're too old, according to, and so
According to.
the same sort of discrimination and yeah, and closed-mindedness that he had, I guess, sort of practice against these I Love Lucy writers,
Yeah.
he was now victim or subject to the same sort of process. And so, but when it was his turn to be on that side of it, he said, "I get it, I understand."
There's one I suppose writer or TV personality which I think. So, have you ever seen a show called Kaminsky Method with Michael Douglas?
Yes. Michael Douglas, and who's the other guy who's
I can never remember his name, but his friend in it. But that is
yes. Oh, Alan Arkin, right?
Yes.
Alan? Yes.
Yes. I think so.
Yeah.
So I recently watched all 3 or 4 series of that. And to me, that is maybe the most certainly the first 2 series are maybe the most well-crafted comedy show that I've ever seen.
I'm a fan of that kind of writing.
Right?
That's the kind of writing that I like to do.
It's just, if you understand comedy or understand just humans, that show just is. And I know the actors are all old, and there's a big play on older characters, but it's quite a contrast, I suppose, because it's written by Chuck Lorre, who does Big Bang Theory, Two and a Half Men.
Two and a Half Men, that's right. Yes.
And almost he is the proof. Chuck Lorre is the proof that you can write young, you can write up old, inverted commas, and it works, because Chuck Lorre, he's 70 now, and so
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I yeah. I mean, I knew he was older, but I didn't realize
he's 70, and he's just. I mean, if you think the Big Bang Theory started 15 years ago, so that's 55. So is he young enough then to write about a load of 28-year-olds, are they 28 to 30-year-olds, scientific, minded people, etc. Was he too old to write that? Two and a Half Men, you could probably see someone who is 50 years old writing Two and a Half Men, maybe.
Maybe.
But so you take out these bits of work, and it shows that actually you can kind of span time, and it's actually, if you are good at what you do, then it will resonate with people.
Well, see, that's my concern was about the racism. I mean, not the racism, but the ageism thing is that it's like a lot of other things. If the product is good, it doesn't matter who wrote it.
Exactly.
Man, woman, black, Jew, 80-year-old, 20-year-old, your dog. It doesn't matter. Is the writing good? Is the story good?
Exactly. And it does, as long as it's authentic as well, because there's no way in how, as me, a 41-year-old white guy from Southern England, with an accountant dad and a publisher mother, is going to write a Southern American tale of a black woman trying to survive with a single life family. Like that's not gonna work. But if you are an older person, you've still lived a life, and you can still, I fully believe you can still experiences you went through will still be relatable now to a certain extent.
Yes.
Obviously, again, depending on demographic, some experiences are going to be far more powerful, violent, whatever. But you know, it can be drawn upon. Experience can be drawn upon, and yes, the problem with ageism and a concern about ageism is that those voices are going to get lost in the end, where there's so much that those voices can have to say.
Yeah, and the thing is that the when you drill down to what is valuable or precious about a story, and that's just character and people's interaction, those things don't age as
Yeah,
far as I'm concerned. Because I can go back and watch a movie from the 1930s and 40s, and yeah, uh, people dress differently, they use language that's different, but what's at bottom is the how people relate to each other.
yeah,
That's true then as it is today.
definitely.
And what you consider as smart, funny, a point of view that's I think those things are still valid and true and worthwhile. And
Yeah,
there's some movies that have aged. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just like I can't watch that anymore. It used to be my favorite, but I have at least a dozen movies that I'll go back, like Casablanca.
hmm.
Oh my God, I stopped. I last time I watched it was maybe before I saw it recently, maybe 6 months ago. But before that, it was 10 or more years ago, and I was just struck by how like fast and smart and clever the lines were.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
it was just great.
yeah. Because of good writing, and I kind of think if you were to I don't know, aliens come to Earth and they're like, right, we want to talk to we want to interview people, so we're not here for world domination. We just want to find out some stuff.
Yeah,
Are you gonna put a okay? Well, you would. You'd kind of say, right, yeah, here's a 20-year-old. They can tell you about their life right now. But here's also this 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old who would tell you about a lot of other stuff.
yeah,
Like because they're just purely on time span. It should
yeah.
be more kind of revered, and it should be, age is a number. If Michael Douglas has taught us anything, age is just is nothing but a number. And I tell you what, when you look at Morgan Freeman, yeah,
Yes.
his career started when he was 70, 73, something like that.
You
In
know,
Was it Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Was that his
he
first one, or
was.
maybe he did
I
one?
don't know. No, it wasn't his first one, but he driving Miss Daisy was in.
Oh,
But
of course,
I
of
didn't think
course.
he came to these things at a later age. So as somebody who has this on his mind, ageism, I'm
Yeah,
looking for examples of people who started their careers later because I'm doing that for mine in
yeah,
TV and film writing. And so I'll look at somebody like your David Seidler, and I say yours because he's British, who wrote King's Speech.
yeah.
I don't know how old he was when he got his Academy Award, but he had been
It's been around
working
a
at it.
while.
Yeah. And then James Ivory, who did Call Me by Your Name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he was with Merchant. He was part of the Merchant Ivory. I don't remember the woman screenwriter who was that 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 trio that did a number of movies like Howard's Inn and Room with a
Hmm.
View, Passage to India. But he was into his 80s when he wrote the script for Call Me by Your Name. I don't know if
Wow.
you know that movie.
Yes, yes. It's a couple of years old.
Yes,
So
yes,
yes, yeah. I've not
yes.
seen it, but I'm aware of it. I think I know my daughter, who's 19, I think she is these days, is has seen it and very much enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And that's it, and that's why. I mean, I think it's understandable. And do you know what? We probably won't have time to touch upon it, but obviously we've mentioned, maybe apart from Morgan Freeman, but we've mentioned people who have kind of come to fame late, but it doesn't mean that they didn't already have people in the industry and things like that. And that's when, if you, I suppose, you delve deep enough into someone's personal life, then you're going to find, well, okay, they had a helping hand here, and that's, and I think it isn't just age appropriate, but breaking into an industry is difficult for everyone if you haven't got that kind of leg up. But like, yeah, there is that concern as you get to an older age that you're just not going to be seen in the same light as someone who is, if you're 70, then someone who is 55 is going to appear to be more lucrative because of, I don't know, both experience and youth.
Well, you've got a lot of other things to recommend you. That age is a thing that they see first, or so
I mean, okay, so I mean, don't get me wrong, Hugh, so you're coming back from, I reckon I've kind of tallied it up so far to about at least another two episodes, one to go into how to break the cycle of just people who know people getting into industry, and the second one is teacherism, that we need to break the stigma around being young and all teachers looking old. But right now, how are we going to make better? How are we going to solve this? How we ageism? What are we going to do about it?
Well, I think one of the things to do is that whenever you see I think we need to start looking at treating people who are, like, if you want to have a relationship with a 30-year-old or 40-year-old, that should be the same way that it should be regarded like as pedophilia. Right. You know what I mean? Well, you say, that person's so, you mess around with a 30-year-old?
Yeah.
That's obscene. You're disgusting. It should be treated in that same way. So we just bring up the age. So instead of where it was 18 or 21, let's make it 30. Let's make it 30.
That's it. Raise all age ranges. Yeah, I think
exactly.
to 30. That's it. You can't do anything. You can't do.
Yeah, you can't drive until you're like 30, 35, maybe.
No drinking, no marriage.
No.
I imagine how many successful people there'd be in the world if we got rid of that. They couldn't drink. It'd be madness. No, too many of them. I love the idea. Just raise the age range. The other thing is the alternative, and I feel like this is probably less likely, is actually just everyone starts their life at the end, like Benjamin Button it, where you're really old.
Yes.
But you've got all your experience kind of downloaded into you, and you just get younger, or not even your experience, but you experience stuff in reverse, and so you see how people relate to you when you're older.
That's actually not a bad idea. Just flip it, right? So you get to do all the things that young kids do, but at 70 or 80 years old. But then they put all that responsibility and wisdom, and so we'll be asking the 15-year-old, because some of them already think they know it anyway. Just say, okay,
but give these people who actually have whose joints don't ache to actually be able to get up and go into it. Just you are young, you have the knowledge. Go out there, make this world a better place, because you've got the knowledge, you've got experience, and you've also got the body that just is okay. Your body can get a full night's sleep without getting up and having a pee, or it can get no sleep and still function the next day. Like, that's you've got the best of all worlds.
Yes.
So either or. I feel like that's the reasonable. I mean, the more realistic maybe just increase age limits. And I'm so behind increasing age limits. Just
what do you mean? What do you mean you're behind?
Well, like, as you said, just make 30 is the new kind of 21 or the new 18 or just let people establish a whole life of being themselves, get experience that they can pass on, get wisdom that they can pass on. You then get to start doing the drinking and the maybe driving people can do because commuting.
Would you let them get married, or would you put that to 40?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what is it? Most the highest divorce rate is somewhere between 45 and 55. So 55 is when you can get married to reduce because you've already passed it. Then you've already passed that itch stage.
And the one problem that I see though is that fertility, like women can only produce.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I got a workaround for that. So you have the baby, but the baby is a fetus. I mean, when you're raising everything up, right?
Yeah.
Because the baby that was born is now your latter-day fetus. So you can't have that baby now. So the woman has the baby, but she can't she can't mother it until
oh my God.
It's like 10 years old.
This oh dear me, this is taking a sci-fi twist. I mean, what was it? A bit of a Total Recall. Well, there you go. That's podcast episode number 4 that we're going to have on just when a woman is allowed to start mothering the baby.
Exactly. Right.
Oh God, we're going to get in trouble here. I hope you know.
I know. It's going to take some special. I mean, hate to make more work for you, but you may have to do some more editing to save both of us.
Oh dearie me, that's obviously a good conversation. It's all in jest anyway.
Yeah, we're only kidding. We're not serious.
We're only kidding.
Yes.
Right. We've solved some things. Do you know what? We've probably just made some stuff worse as well. But please, it's now time for you to tell everyone, what is it you're working on? Where can we find you?
Well, as you know, I'm a writer. I was thinking about how I can get my my stories and things out there and people to read them and maybe buy them. And then I got the advice: make something. Yeah, make a film, create something that you've written. And so I did just that. I wrote a short film, and now it's making the festival rounds, and I'm enjoying that. I thought maybe I was largely or exclusively just a writer, but I'm also liking the process of like working with the actors and the other kind of artists that are on set to make a film.
A writer enjoying human interaction is something quite quite special. What's the name of the short film?
My short film is called The Line Jumpers. It's 6-minute sort of dramedy, a little drama comedy, and it's on the festival circuit. And I am making those rounds, connecting with other filmmakers. So that's some of the sort of benefit for me, not only just learning from other people like me, in not all cases writers, but people who are directing, acting, just seeing what it takes to make a short film.
Fantastic. And you enjoying the process, obviously.
Yeah, that's the thing. My fear is that I wouldn't like it. And the other concern was that I'm so possessive and territorial about my work that when now I see it being sort of realized and sort of sent into another dimension, because writing is just 2-dimensional.
Yeah.
But when you start making the film, it becomes 3-dimensional. And I thought, I'm not going to like it because but I was on the set of this short film, and all these people were doing their story-related things, and they weren't asking me or checking in. They knew their job. And instead of feeling threatened by that, I felt like kind of powerful because I started all of this. That person, they wouldn't be having this conversation. That person wouldn't be moving cameras. They wouldn't be, it would, all of this stuff was happening because months before, I sat in front of a computer and trying to figure out a little short story that I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And nobody knew anything about it. And now, so I like the magic of that.
Yeah.
So
I just the way you've described it is so beautiful, and I can totally understand why. Because for me, when you say about that worry about person, it's like if you describe someone what the I don't know the perfect person looks like, but they've got to make it out of clay, and you're thinking well, that's not going to be right. There's no way they can make what I'm saying into how I imagine it.
yes.
And for that for you to stand there and watch that happen, and to also appreciate that, oh yeah, this whole thing is happening just because of words you put on paper.
I swear to you, I'm in my room by myself. Nobody's telling me do this, don't do that. I have complete control. I'm making this stuff up, and then to see somebody else take it, and you're saying they're not going to see it the way I see it. Sometimes it's even better that they do something, and it's better than I imagine. So yeah, I like the whole business, and I'm happy that I like it because it's possible that I could have just done the writing and just not enjoyed the rest of it, and that would be not so good. But
yeah. Well, amazing. I mean, just the pure passion that you speak about, it means I can't wait to see it. I'll put any links or certain links to your website and the work in the bio for the movie, in the bio for the podcast. And Hugh, it's been fantastic talking to you.
No, I enjoyed it. I will tell you, and I think, you know this already. There was a certain amount of dread and anxiety about doing this, and I thought, I'm not going to have enough. I felt like I had maybe 2 minutes to talk about. It's like you go to a party, right? And you feel like I'll be ready to leave after about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Tops.
And you end up enjoying yourself and staying for a bit. And also thinking, I wish I hadn't booked that taxi so early because I could have stayed all night.
Yes.
But that's the effect I have on people. But no, this is so. Guests have described this as kind of being quite cathartic because it's something that you may think about. Yeah, when people come on the podcast, it's something that they think about but they only ever think about it internally. Generally, like it's not something big enough to talk to other people about, or maybe they're worried no one else will listen. Whereas I'm a captive audience. They come on, it's quite a cathartic thing of saying, well, do you know what? This annoys me, but also you've got to make it better. So there's a challenge in there. And I'm glad that you've enjoyed yourself. I'm glad you've
I did.
And you tell everyone everyone and anyone who listened to listen to the episode, because I certainly would enjoy listening back to it. And all there is for me to say is thank you everyone for listening. Thank you very much to my guest, Hugh Murchison. And it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Hugh. Say goodbye, Hugh.
Bye. Thanks, Jeff. It's been great.
I saw you wave then. They can't see you, but goodbye, everybody.